There's no pleasantries this morning.
Right into it?
Yeah. Good hour.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Ben Ennis is here.
I won't derail you.
Yeah. No, don't do that. You know that's the number one derailing thing.
Yeah. Like, stay on the tracks.
Yeah. Whew. All right. Do my best. Yeah, busy good hour today. I'm going to do most of my NFL stuff with Brady Quinn later because he played in the NFL and he's one of the most famous quarterbacks to ever play for Notre Dame. And
good-looking fella, too.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. But I do want to talk a little bit about the football with you.
Okay.
But I'm going to get more into the game and do my version of breaking down the film, breaking down the narratives.
You're going to say, I looked at those green dots like Ben Solak, and Josh Allen should have thrown it to Khalil Shakir when he had the 300-pound humans bearing down on his face.
He actually should have thrown it to Khalil Shakir, though.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I said to Brandon, our Bills fan in the back, that's the difference between Allen and Mahomes. Right there is they design that play for when pressure comes, you hit that outlet. And I think Mahomes hits it, and I think Allen doesn't. Flat out.
He hit Dalton Kincaid right in the hand.
Yeah, I that's not the Mark Andrews play, okay? Like that's
nobody's saying it is.
Up in a million miles up in the air. No, he made a spectacular throw. There's no doubt. Like that is the Allen experience. Is he's a physical freak with an incredible arm, and he made a physical freak, incredible arm play.
Yeah.
But that's 100 feet up in the freezing cold air with a tight end who's working his way back to the football. Who, by the way, that's one of the bigger stories of this thing to me is Dalton Kincaid is a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He sucks.
It's not good.
And they got Elam out there, first-round pick, and he sucks.
Yeah, it's not good.
And the Chiefs have a first-round pick that they got from the Bills. It's Mahomes to Worthy, two guys that are...
Couldn't they have had McDuffie too? That was
that's who they anyways, that's who they took, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They drafted Elam one pick ahead of him. Maybe I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Either way,
yes.
The two core guys outside of Chris Jones in this game for the Chiefs could have been Buffalo Bills had they just not given them to the Chiefs. I can't believe the Xavier Worthy thing happened. In retro, watching that game
in the moment though too, we all knew it. But he's so slight and he's not going to work in Buffalo.
Well, I saw these takes too from Bills fans being it's still early in Coleman's career. I was like, okay, sure, whatever helps you sleep. Listen. Here's my policy with Bills fans today is they are actually a fan base where I'm leaving them alone. My friends who are Bills fans, all they're getting from me is, I'm sorry, dude. Because it's crushing. I think every single one of us, if you could sign a contract being hey, do you want Mahomes Allen for the next 4 years? Do you want to have these two teams face each other in the postseason? You got to say, yeah, we got to have this game. It's almost like a rite of passage game, except for the suffering for the Bills has gotten to the point where it's the same as what LeBron did to Toronto, where it's you name it LeBronto.
Yeah.
I don't know what Muffalo? Muffalo? No, it's not Muffalo.
Here's what I can say definitively.
Mahomes?
It's not Muffalo.
I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo works. Either way, Muffalo, he owns you. He owns you. And okay, and what I want to get into with you is the ref discourse, because I'm of two minds of this thing. Do I think the Bills got that first down? Yes, because I think that Josh Allen moved forward. The camera angle things, everybody's sending their own version of the line. I'm okay,
dude, I see people that draw it without
Anyway, I'm not using the photo stuff because we know that the camera angle isn't perfectly down the line. But
was it parallax view or whatever?
Whatever. Sure. You're a smart guy. You know, you read your little word of the day calendar and you apply it there.
Well, that's what they talk about in the NHL
Baseball.
with the NHL with the puck crossing the goal line. If it's in the air, the parallax view, guys, it's deceiving.
See, I think about the pitcher where it's where it looks like he's a little off to the side.
I see.
When it comes in, you're oh, it's off the. Well, before we got the strike zone.
Oh.
Where you'd be oh, that's a strike.
Man, I don't remember those days, but yeah.
Oh, it's so hard. It's crazy you can't go back.
No.
How does anybody do anything?
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm of two minds. Two things can be true. I thought that Allen went forward. I thought that it was the ref that's closest to the ball that gets to make the play has the worst view of it. And in conferring with the other official who was ahead of him,
Yeah, that was nuts.
who has
That's
the clearer
hardest
view
part.
of it, I'm like, okay, well, why wouldn't you defer in this situation? Why wouldn't you let the other guy make that call? I'm not sure there was enough to overturn it. It was razor close. But here's the thing. When you have multiple quarterback sneaks that get stuffed, and it's a play
they were low to get a yard. They couldn't get a yard.
But that's what I'm saying is at
Cook
some
just
point,
barely got in there.
right, at some point, you kind of lose the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And if you lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, like if you're a Bills fan today and you're looking at this going, well, we got robbed. I agree. Like that ref robbed you of that moment. And if you do have that play, the entire game plays out differently for sure. But if you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions in Kansas City and you're relying on the referee to make a call of whether or not, because Gene Sterator, Gene Principe was there. They were like, what does Gene Principe think of this? He's like, well, I wasn't really expecting to go on. Like, yeah.
What is the pun Gene could have made?
Yeah, but he said, what, a quarter of the football?
Yeah.
He's like, I think it's over by a quarter of the football. And I went, I agree, it's by a quarter of the football. But if that's what you're relying on, you had a chance to drive down the field with the ball at the end of the game.
Of course.
This one, I'm not really thinking as much of this is on the refs as I think Bills fans want it to be. Ultimately, given the roster construction stuff with the first round picks that bit you in the ass in this game, and the fact that once again you had a chance to drive down the field and score on the Chiefs, and you just didn't do it. So that brings me to this: before the game, Adam Schefter puts out, I got to say, what is one of the wildest articles I've ever seen from like a journalist before like a critical game. And he's like the lead reporter in the NFL. And he's essentially insinuating, hey, don't worry, the league is going to clean up all these Mahomes plays. And do I think Mahomes has had his moments with his flops? For sure. Do I think that Mahomes gets too much of the benefit of the doubt? For sure. But this isn't like a Mahomes issue. This is a league-wide issue with the roughing the passer play that the league has. And he basically puts it out there as like the league is going to stop the malfeasance of the Kansas City Chiefs. And we finish this game, and all I see is just ref. And I'm curious what you think about just like the discourse around officiating right now, because it's pervasive in, I think, all sports. All fan bases do it. But the NFL, with all the money that's on it, with the fantasy implications and the actual gambling implications, it feels like now they're sort of trending into like a real problem here.
I don't know. I feel like this is very, like, I think any neutral thinks the way that you do and I do. I think that probably in most cases, a QB sneak of that nature on 4th and 1 where it's close enough, you usually get the benefit of the doubt. But there's no clear and obvious, to me, evidence to suggest that he was...
Sure, but that play aside, I'm saying that the NFL has a growing perception problem that this thing is rigged. And like that happens... Listen, man, it happens because the Chiefs, before the Chiefs, there was the Patriots, and we remember it.
I know.
And everyone, they did actually cheat. Like, they actually cheated, and they were punished for it. But for the rest of their tenure, it was, hey, these guys are cheaters, these guys are cheaters, these guys are cheaters. And yet it didn't feel like, well, the league is on the take with these guys. They hit them with Deflategate, and you go, well, pretty clear that the league's not in the bag with these dudes. They genuinely tried to punish them for something that was, I think, circumstantial for the most part at best. And yet with the Chiefs thing, I think that there are a lot of people that actually believe that it's rigged or that the officials side with Mahomes. And if you look at all the coverage that's there online or all the tweets,
Well, I mean, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Chiefs have gotten the lion's share of calls in their postseason, right? Like but like what comes first, right? The great team and the great coaching. Listen,
or the team that doesn't choke and make undisciplined plays in those big moments because they're comfortable playing in them. Like, what's more likely? I can just
speak from my own perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think the Chiefs even lose like one extra postseason game in this run with a different officiating decision. In that moment, that's not the last turnover on downs, right? The Chiefs go down the field and score a touchdown, but then the Bills come back and they score a touchdown of their own before the Chiefs take the lead with the field goal. Like, there's still so much game left there. How can you view that as like the entire game changes? It's not even like week 1 against the Ravens where it's like, oh man, Isaiah Likely gets his foot off of the line and they've at least got a chance to tie the game at the end of regulation and maybe win it, go for 2 and win the game. Like, there's still, I can just speak from my own perspective. Like, are there calls that feel like they go in favor of the Chiefs. In every sport, any dynastic team, does it feel like they get the majority of the calls? Yeah, but do I think that takes anything away from their postseason run, or do I think that the league is rigged in favor?
You're looking
of
at
the
it
Chiefs?
through your lens, though, which is like,
and not a Bills fan.
But again,
Are you looking at it more too
Yes,
much
I'm
toward like as a Bills fan?
No,
or
I'm
as
not.
a neutral?
I'm looking at it as a neutral and as a Bills fan today, which is that is the prevailing sentiment. I know guys like you and I, listen, we're not smart, but we're sports smart. We're smart for sports, right? We get a lot of things wrong. I'm not saying that we're infallible here with this, but we do it for a living. We try to analyze this stuff with as clear of a lens as possible. And I do think the notion that the league is rigged is like, if you, like that to me is a real brain dead thought. Like when my friends say that, where they're like rigged, right? Like you look at them and you go, okay. Again, like what do you think is the Occam's razor here? Is that there's a league-wide conspiracy that these officials really love the Kansas City Chiefs and that the NFL loves the small market Chiefs and them being in yet another Super Bowl. Why? Because Taylor Swift is dating one of the players. Like I don't really understand that. And all these officials
and the Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl would have been more highly rated than the Bills and the story of breaking through.
And not only that, it's just like, or that the officials are somehow showing favoritism to a player in Mahomes who has shown them up in recent, over the last couple of weeks with some flops and some borderline plays. Like I actually thought there was one in this game where I think it was Oliver lands on top of Mahomes. And I'm glad it wasn't roughing the passer. So glad it wasn't, because I don't think that is a roughing the passer penalty. But I thought to myself, I wonder if this moment did get influenced by the narrative around Mahomes and that these guys were maybe a little bit tentative to actually do it, because how could it not surrounding this game when Adam freaking Schefter puts it out there that these guys are essentially cheaters that are going to get rid of this thing? Like he puts out the stats and I'm like, oh my God. So what's more likely, that being true or just that this guy's one of the greatest players who ever lived on a really great team that plays a clean football game?
One.
And duh.
That one, but that's like,
but anyway,
is anybody that's not a dumb guy?
Yes, dude. Yes, I'm saying that.
I mean, and Schefter is doing that partly because he wants the click of the dumb guy, right?
I guess. But to me, again, like, what did Bill Simmons get suspended for? He said Goodell is an idiot or something when it was Deflategate.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the terminology
was. I'm
there.
not for like suspending guys for their opinions on things, but I do think that if you're the league, I would be asking him, "Hey, sorry, you're a reporter, right? Like you're here to report the news, like you're a newsbreaker. Like just imagine if Shams or Woj would have dropped like, don't worry, LeBron's not going to get any more calls going in. You'd be like, what the hell is this? Like, it would just be so...
I mean, there is a newsworthy part of it where it's like, the league is looking into the...
Yeah, but again, to frame it around a singular player, again, you're the game's greatest player. And that is what I'm saying about the perception problem of the league, is that Mahomes is now doing something that, we've never seen and might never see again. Yeah. This is one of the most spectacular team accomplishments that we've ever seen, run by, like, Andy Reid's 3 wins off of Bill Belichick for playoff wins.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mahomes is going to 3 straight Super Bowls and looking like he's the favorite in this thing against the Eagles. There's just like a billion stats that you can look at about the greatness of this Chiefs team. And that is something that I thought of last night watching them going, that's the difference here, is that you can't just have the one sneak that doesn't work out for you to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. No. You got to kill them.
Yes.
You got to kill them dead. The Chiefs team with their offense, where everyone crushed them all season long, being like, no 30 points, no 30 points, no 30 points, scores 30 points in the biggest game of the year. And I sat there and just complete admiration of what it is that they do. But I think the general discourse around this team today is surrounding, did they get another break? Did Buffalo get screwed? Is the officiating in the NFL good enough? Again, even like, you look at the biggest accounts in football. Schefter did it. You look at Warren Sharp, who's one of the biggest. He's the biggest gambling guy in all of NFL. All he did was like, here's these calls, here's these calls, here are these calls. Officiating is not great. I don't think that this is ultimately good, and I don't really see how it changes, that the discourse just continues to surround the refs this much. Like I don't remember sports being this way, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels now that every single game, the biggest thing we're going to talk about, unless it's like Eagles Washington, where it's a 55 to 23, that we're going to talk about the refs in any close game before anything else.
I think why you hear it. I mean, part of it is the actual statistical evidence. It's like, yeah, the unbalanced number of calls go in favor of the Chiefs in these postseason games. So that's part of it. The other part is like, imagine telling somebody that a team has made 7 consecutive AFC championship games and had the run that they've had under Patrick Mahomes. You're like, well, that's unfair. Like, obviously, like that can't just happen.
Yeah.
You have to look for an explanation because one can't exist in somebody's greatness in that way. Like it's just, and they only won 11 games last year and had to go on the road on the divisional round and the AFC championship game with they had the most drops in the NFL and they still won the Super Bowl.
They lost the turnover battle again?
Yeah, like obviously, like there's something that is not just them being great at play here. So,
but that's actually what I don't get is that it's like no, it's like if they keep doing it this way, it's like obviously they're just great. This isn't the officials.
Yeah, no, that's like that's the greater statistical evidence. Is like even if it was one call, if it was 3 calls a game, could they get as many calls as they've had in 17 consecutive 1-score games they've won in the postseason? Like that's a lot of calls. Wow, how did they do that? They won all those games on the basis of all these calls? That's incredible. Well done. What an incredible conspiracy. A lot of referees on the take.
Especially for Kansas City. Like, the Kansas City, where everyone has been, right?
Yeah.
Or the media
is it
epicenter.
in Missouri or is it in Kansas?
Yes.
And that one's in Missouri, by the way.
This is the thing.
There is a Kansas City, Kansas.
This is, thank you. Okay. This was the stat to me. So stats you should know. I'm going to filter them in throughout the hour today. Josh Allen, this is from Next Gen Stats, which is provided by the NFL, so part of the conspiracy because they love this.
Yeah.
Josh Allen was stuffed short of the line to gain by the Chiefs on 3 quarterback sneaks during that game. That's the most run stuffs by a defense against sneaks in a game since 2016. Like, you got stuffed multiple times, and then you got stuffed again. And to me, it's like, again, I'm on the Bills fans' side here when it comes to that play call. I thought it was that. But when you get stuffed multiple times and your coaching staff's like not making any adjustments and you get it by 3/4 of a football, like...
No, you can't leave it in the hands of the officials. You can't.
It's just...
If you also know the history of the officiating results for the Chiefs, like, the Bills had access. They could have read Schefter before the game. Like, here's what we can't do. We can't let it be decided by the officials.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Josh Allen, again, had an opportunity to score in this football game at the end and win it. Walk it off for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that wasn't the last drive.
Yeah, with a touchdown pass and didn't. And again, here's the actual difference between these two. Josh Allen with an opportunity, once again, did not do it. Patrick Mahomes went down 1 to 8 points in the fourth quarter or overtime games.
I saw this. This is Nick Wright stuff?
No, I got this from Josh DeBow of the AP. He's 40 for 56 for 552 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 132 quarterback rating, a touchdown run, and the Chiefs have scored on 13 of 14 of those drives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but that's what we should all be talking about today, okay?
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
This guy is Mariano Rivera. You put him in the game, and it's over. He's closing.
Well, except if Mariano Rivera could also hit a grand slam in the top of the ninth inning.
If Mariano Rivera was Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But better.
Yeah. Because,
more impactful.
I mean, the redux of the Super Bowl we're getting in 2 weeks, the last one he had to outscore the Eagles by like 10 points in the fourth quarter to win it. He's done that. He's come back from 10 points in the fourth quarter against the Niners. Like I think his record is now above 500 overall in the regular season when he's trailing in the fourth quarter of football games. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I just look at this game, and again, I'm going to get into it more with Brady, but it's like you got out-coached. The Chiefs quarterback played better. The Chiefs defensive star was more impactful than any defensive player that was on the Bills. The first round picks, different, like between the wide receivers. One guy had 84 yards and a touchdown catch. The other guy, I think, had 1 catch in the entire football game. They drew up, by the way, like you want to talk about the coaching moments, it's like your coach on a third down play drew up a fade route, the worst play in football for Keon freaking Coleman. Like, okay, there's good play call. Like, you lost every part of that football game. Like, it was just the Chiefs' game. You won the turnover battle. Although I got to say, I really want 4th down stops to start getting included as like a team turnover because I hate that it's a turnover on downs, and yet
it's
just
like the Commanders every week. It's like no punts, no punts. It's like they get stuffed a couple of times on fourth down.
I had one guy send me this stat where he's like, just so you know, Jane Daniels already more games in the playoffs without a punt than Tom Brady. I'm like, yeah,
they don't.
Tom
punt.
Brady's teams used to punt. Like the Washington doesn't punt. It's not really that impressive when the other team flat out like won't punt. Like, the game has changed. So some of these stats need to be looked at a little bit differently. But yeah, last thing on this, and then I want to pivot into a couple of local things. I'm going to do a take safe space with you.
Oh, okay, I can't wait.
And I want to ask you about your feeling on the Blue Jays' strategic approach here, because I don't know if you heard my discussion with Shai Davidi on Friday, but it pretty much seems as though, that he seems to have a pretty good grasp on what exactly the Blue Jays are doing right now in terms of strategy with these free agents, and I want to ask you your thoughts on it. But last thing on this, where do you think that 4th and inches, that like the line, I wonder what Bills fans are going to call it, like the sneak,
line to gain,
the failed sneak. Where does that go down in terms of the pantheon? Like, it's obviously wide right is never going to get replaced. Mm-hmm. But I kind of feel like that's...
I mean, Bass missing the field goal last year was more significant, right? Like, that feels like more of a loser moment.
No, but the thing is, though, is that, and this is why I get the Bills fans' pain, because, and as someone who was, I got to admit, like, actually rooting for the Bills, I was surprised that I was, like, sitting there going... Come on, guys! Like,
so was I. And what makes it tougher for me is my children were wearing their Chiefs gear and rooting for the Chiefs, I was rooting against their happiness.
Well, it's just how much pain. At some point it gets to the position, and I've always been vocal that I root against the teams like the Bills because I'm Leafs fans, and I don't want to be alone on the island. Like the Jets suffer. Suffer away so that people don't look at my suffering and say it's the worst. I hated that the Cubs won. I was devastated. Like at the end, it was like you saw them and I was like, good for you. But ultimately, I'm like, no. Not until the Leafs get one do I want to see any of the tortured teams win. Buffalo is the one exception to that rule because it's like, it's everything to that community and they've just been the punching bag. Yeah, it's just, exactly. It's just, no, I hate it. But that play, like, I do think that out of everything that happened in that football game, and that everything that happened, the drop by Kincaid or whatever, the spectacularness of Mahomes, the closing too, where it's like you can get a stop.
Oh yeah, you have all 3 timeouts. You can get a stop,
and Mahomes does his just classic.
And then not only do they get the first down, they go out of bounds, screw themselves by going out of bounds immediately, and you're still in the game.
You're still in it, and they just find, they just get it. They just get it done. Or even the rollout where Mahomes has it the 4th and 1 in their own territory, where he does the classic play of like he runs it out to the right. And anyway. I do think it was interesting that Allen, all the talk about him is like the physicality and the running, and then he's not able to be the X factor in the run game. It's Mahomes out of the 2 quarterbacks. Like, did the thing that Allen is truly supposed to be unstoppable.
They break that out in the postseason just like they do Travis Kelce. It's like Travis Kelce doesn't get used during the regular season. The Mahomes run game doesn't get used in the regular season. They break that out when they need it. In the postseason, even when he's got a bum ankle, which he doesn't have now. Like now he's had like a month off.
I think that play, though, is going to be what gets remembered most from that game.
I hope you're wrong.
1 yard.
Not for me. Again, I can only speak from my perspective, and I hadn't had enough time. Like the discourse has only started, I guess, right? Like,
so what's the play then from the Chiefs
Dalton
side?
Kincaid. On the Chiefs side?
You think Dalton Kincaid is the bigger play than the sneak? No way.
I do. Absolutely.
No way.
Absolutely. Man,
it's a way harder play. One is actually a made play where they have the first down. The other one's like a...
No, I mean, there's an image of a football in a guy who's not a wide receiver, he's tight end, and it's like hitting his hands, and like, But
he's drafted to be the most impactful guy.
Apparently, like, going back, people are saying in that draft class, people were calling him, they said he had the best hands of any of the receivers in that first round. And no, to me, that's the play. But maybe you're right. Like, maybe you're right because there's...
I'm right, for sure. I'm not maybe.
People that love talking about officiating. Yeah. I think you and I both look at it the same way, that it wasn't the difference in the game. It could have helped the Bills. The game's not over. Bills scored a touchdown after that.
Like I said, it's a situation where I do think if they pick up that first down there, they probably win the game.
Maybe.
Just given where it was, they're up. They have a chance to go down and just punch the Chiefs in the mouth with a touchdown and force it to the situation where now the Chiefs have to score and kick or get the extra the 2-point conversion.
God knows they would
I know, but then they would have the ball again. I don't know. You're right. It's not over. There's
like,
a lot of
how many hoops you have to jump through to get to that point. It's like, and
I'm just saying how it felt in the moment to me was the Bills are going to win this football game if they can score a touchdown on the drive.
Leading the football game at that moment. Did you ever really think that the Bills were going to win the game? Because I never did.
I did think that they were going to win the game in that moment. I thought because I thought that was a conversion. I was texting with a couple Bills fans buddies, and they were like, "Did we get it? Did we get it?" And I was like, "Well, he went forward, and you needed literally just to go forward. Like, if you look at where the football was, it was an inch. So if he moved forward, in my mind, that was the call. That's why I think that the original line judge, who was on the side where he could actually see the football, made the right call." And then the other guy who came in was like, no benefit of the doubt, and went, okay. But anyway, so it's like I'm of two minds with it because I'm heartbroken for Bills fans. I do think that they were screwed over in that moment. But ultimately, it's one of those things where you have that margin of error and you get stuffed that many times. You get outcoached, your quarterback gets outplayed, your pass catchers get outplayed. Your coach inexplicably decides not to use your running back that's chunking them for, 8 yards a carry.
The best drive of the game where it was 8 consecutive running plays?
Yeah, and he's just like, you know what? Leave him off the field for the end. Let's get more Ray Davis in here, the guy who dropped the football. You're like, okay, why?
Yeah.
So I just have a little less sympathy when it's like that. Anyways, all right, let's take a quick break. I want to talk about take safe space when it comes to Leafs-Sens rivalry. And, whether the Blue Jays strategy is acceptable. That's next. So Sens have beat the Leafs 3 straight times now. Leafs haven't won a game against the Sens since 2023. It was a really fun first period. Leafs do feel shorthanded right now. But damn, that Sens team, the potential for a playoff series has to feel a little scary to Leafs fans, just given the speed of the Senators and their recent success against this team. And maybe it's very much a Bills-Chiefs thing. And by the way, I will say this to Bills fans. There is hope for you because Mahomes might want to go to the Lakers, and then a team in Texas might decide that they don't want to send their star to the Lakers, and he sends them to your team thinking it's a punishment. And
are you saying Lakers on purpose?
Yeah. Duh. I'm saying that's LeBron, the dominance.
So to like the Cowboys.
Way to step on it. Yeah. No, it's still not the Cowboys. It's just a joke about LeBron leaving the East and then opening things up for Raptors. Anyways, thanks. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Thanks for opening your big trap.
I thought you were being serious. On purpose. I mean, what if he wanted to go save the Cowboys? I mean, did he grow up a Cowboys fan? Like, obviously, Texas guy.
I don't know. I don't care. Just it's over. The moment has passed. The moment has passed. Back to the Leafs, okay? I won't try to make any more jokes, all right?
No,
my bad. My mistake. Here's my take safe space. You and I used to do this on Good Show, and I'd like to do it right now, where it's like, please nobody be mad at me, and please nobody just come at me. This is a safe space. I don't want to be criticized. I just want to be heard out. I used to go to a lot of Leafs-Sens games. I lived in Ottawa for 6 years. I have family there. I've been to that arena countless times to watch Leafs-Sens. I used to take great joy, great pleasure in going there as a Leaf fan and being a part of the takeover of the arena. It's very fun. It's a great opportunity for real Leaf fans to be at a hockey game together, which obviously is not something that happens here with great frequency. However, I'm starting to feel bad for Ottawa because here's the thing. When I was going to all those games, it was 100 years ago. And the Senators fan base just doesn't appear to be really growing in any way. And I don't mind. I guess I want to see it where it's more of a 50-50 thing, right? Where it feels like it's closer to half and half, where the Sens outnumber them, but there's still a vocal. It's like the other arenas
when they go
around the
to
NHL.
West. They go out west. They're going to Calgary and Edmonton coming up, and it's like, they're outnumbered or it's close. And they're very loud, but
and they're very loud, and you get to go Leafs Goes chants, and there's a real atmosphere in the building because it's awesome. It's what makes hockey in this country so fun is when the real rivalries exist between the cities, and Toronto is the big, most populous place here, and so there's more of us, and we spread out, and we annoy the other spots, and that's part of the fun. But the Ottawa thing, to me, feels a little like part of the reason that this rivalry isn't as good as it once was is that, yes, both teams haven't lined up being uber competitive at the same time. Sens' competitive window was supposed to be more now than it has been, right? Like they've had a lot of failures, they've had bad goaltending. There's a multitude of reasons for it. But it's just so pathetic how few people are Senators fans in that arena to the point where it's like, it feels like bullying now. And
oh my God.
It's a safe space.
Oh my God.
It's a safe space.
Yeah.
Are you not aware? Do you not see the sign?
Yeah,
safe space?
Safe space. Fine.
So why are you shaming me? Why are you
Right.
yelling in my face? Oh my God. Safe space. I didn't expect the Senators fans in that region to just all remain Leaf fans forever and ever and ever. I just thought more people would kind of cross over to being Senators fans, that the Leafs wouldn't be the big bad wolf. And I guess part of it is that, again, the Leafs went into being fun and competitive, even with the playoff heartbreak. You can't deny which one of the two teams that a younger person in Ontario would be attracted to for this long. But yeah, I don't know. I need to see more from the Senators fans because it's getting to the point of the Sens have won 3 straight and it doesn't even feel like it matters because the Leafs are just like, it's like, who cares? You don't even have any fans. It's like Florida stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the Sens used to dominate these regular season matchups when they were actually good and then lose in the postseason. All right. Will you feel differently when, of course, the Leafs fall into the 2 seed in the Atlantic and play the Senators in the first round? Linus Ullmark comes back and then beats them in 7 games.
No, of course there will be a differentiator with a postseason happening. I'm just saying that right now with the Battle of Ontario, the Sens have won 3 straight games, and the prevailing thought that I have coming out of these things is normally, who cares, because you guys aren't even there to see it. So, like, it's a tree falls in a wood situation. Who's a Sens fan?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the new ownership and, like, the new building, I guess, is the hope that it'll change there. But, yeah, no, I will agree with you that during a regular season matchup between the two, like, I empathize with a Senators fan and with the team. And also, like,
But that's the thing. I never empathize with any other fan base. I'm never like, oh, poor Canucks fans.
You also spend lots of time in Ottawa, though. And
no,
you have
it's
family
not.
in
But
that
it's
region.
I've seen it. I'm just saying that it is so different. Like if you go to Vancouver, it's still majority Canucks fans. Like by far, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Leaf fans have a big pocket and they can show up and go to the games. But there's no like confusing who the team is in the market. When you go to like Ottawa, you go to a sports bar and the two teams are playing. Like, you got to go to a Sens bar in Ottawa to ensure that you are seeing the Sens and their fans reflected the vast majority in their own market. I'm saying, like, it's been, when did the Senators become a team? 92, 93?
Sounds right.
Yeah. Like, we're talking about over 30 years of being in the league, and it just still feels like
And a cup final
they're the
appearance.
second team in their own market.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the point here.
You play in the same province as the biggest team in the sport.
I'm just saying that, like, okay, so this is very different because my grandfather, he rooted for the Rangers. He was a Brad Park guy. He was a Rangers fan. He's from that area. When the Sens got a team, he bought season tickets and he became a Sens fan.
Okay.
And I just kind of would have thought that more people by this time would have, like, civic pride and say, hey, let's keep the Leaf fans out of the building, and hey, let's be Sens fans instead of the team that we have to drive 5 hours to go see, and just like doesn't appear to be the case still to this day.
Yeah, I mean, they have the cup final appearance and like a run of very successful regular season teams and some superstars that have played for that team. But is it the like lack of, and yeah, obviously the Leafs haven't won a championship since the Sens have been a franchise, but obviously their history goes well beyond that, and yeah, the Leafs will always be the Leafs. But is it just the lack of success that the Sens, especially recently with the rebuild and it taking much longer than you ever anticipated? Although we're not that far removed from that, what is it, like triple overtime game against the Penguins?
They've had deeper playoff successes.
Yeah.
I do think that had they won that Stanley Cup against Anaheim, things are a little bit different because then you're actually like a champion. It's not as fun to be on the runner-up. And especially how things went with that team and how many losses they suffered to the Leafs. And maybe a Sens win over the Leafs does change the element of civic pride a little bit harder. And I don't want that. Like, that is a nightmare to me. I'm empathetic for them. And I wish that they would grow more, but not at the expense of the Leafs losing in the first play. Like, yeah, I don't need to add that to, like, they already lost to the Canadians when they were up 3-1. You know, they lose to the Bruins every year. They've been embarrassment after embarrassment. I'm not like, I want Ottawa to do so well that it's beat the Leafs so that they can grow their team. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that part of what is missing with the Battle of Ontario to me, there's multiple layers with it. One is that neither team has been good or competitive at the same time for a while now. Two is that the game is just far less physical, right? You get the Riley cross-check to Greg's face and you say, hey, that's something, that's a memorable moment. But ultimately, it's just so different from the days of Darcy Tucker going into a bench or Zdeno Chara swinging Brian McCabe around. Like, that's just not going to happen anymore. There's no more Chris Neils and Domies flying around anymore. Like, that's not the same thing anymore. So there's that. But another element is that it's like, Ottawa's fan base just hasn't grown to a point where they're like really represented. When you go to a Leafs Sens game and it's here, you don't see really any Sens fans. If you have a Montreal game here, you see a lot of like Habs fans in the crowd. You see a lot of other fan bases here. Hell, you see more Flyers fans, I think, at games when they're here than you do Senators fans. Like, it's like pretty much equal representation. And like part of the gambit here is that you were supposed to kind of grow the fan base to a place. Like, they were supposed to go year over year over year. It just sort of feels like the same number of people are Sens fans. Again, this is anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, and they're going through a period of transition here, like ownership-wise too, right?
They were like, people were pissed at.
Yes,
they were pissed, and they like got their team threatened to move.
Oh my God,
you got the new ownership now. So it's again, it's layered. I'm just saying that in order for this thing to be the rivalry that we want it to be, there have to be a greater presence from Senators fans. And you can't go watch a game in the province and see it be it looked like it was 80-20 on TV.
Yeah, like it's not even like a Dodgers Padres thing where you go big brother, little brother. If like the little brother doesn't even show up.
Yeah, that's like exactly.
Yeah, you need the little brother to be there, to not forfeit before the game. So I do think getting back to the playoffs for the first time in a long time would help in that regard. And yeah, I'm sure Senators fans felt like the rug had been pulled out from under their feet.
Sure, but there's no Canadian fan bases like that where it's like, like the Vancouver is completely distraught right now. Their team is lifeless and they hate each other, and it's like they're.
What's the population difference there, though?
Sure, I guess that's true, and yeah, they have their actual market. I'm just saying that it's like you never have to worry about like lack of playoff runs for them to maintain that same passion for the team. Yeah. Same with Calgary or Edmonton if you wanted to get closer in population.
Talk about Winnipeg being one of the best teams.
Well, Winnipeg actually is kind of the only one where it's like but Winnipeg, if you're talking about population differences, it's like, it's like, no.
I mean, is it comparable to Ottawa?
No, I think Winnipeg, hold on, let's Google that. How big
is it?
Well, I don't know, but I would hard pressed to believe 1 million people live in Winnipeg. Sorry. Like.
Yeah, I don't know if is that offensive to somebody.
Population. Well, Google that for me.
Yeah, that's what you should have done.
783,000. So that's what they're.
What's the population of Ottawa?
It's 1 million. But the thing is, though, even with Ottawa, you do have surrounding area of a lot of people that were supposed to be invested in the team. Like, that's just it. Like, Winnipeg, what's around Winnipeg? The Paw.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, tell me, this is for Canadian geography majors. What's the second biggest city in Manitoba?
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. That's probably right.
That sounds right?
That's probably right.
What, Carmen?
Yeah. Look at this guy. You were born there. You better know. Anyway, all right. Let's move off this. So Shadavidi was on Friday. I asked him about the free agents. I'm like, hey, what's up with this? What's the latest? Because if you recall, it got real buzzy on Twitter.
They had to put out the flames. Shy and Ben.
No, but I also got to say, like, why are we doing all the fake insider stuff? Like, people, I love how Blue Jays Twitter, like plastered these accounts from Boston that were like, oh, Soto's coming here. And they were like, clown, clown, clown. It's like all fan bases are the same. You see all these like Blue Jays little accounts that are like, and I've got it down to the wire. Yeah. Here's what I'm hearing. It's like, stop it. Stop doing that. So all these Jays Twitter accounts are being like, it's happening. This is the story, blah, 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 blah. I got the breaking news. I'm the insider now. And you're like, okay, sure. Yeah, you got this before the other guys. Got it. You got this before passing. Good to know. The way that he presented it to me makes sense, which is they're not going crazy for these guys. Because for a moment there, it felt like they signed Santander, and then they were like going to go out and try to get Scherzer and one of Alonso and Profar. And then Profar immediately signs for what I thought was like a ridiculously good value contract that I really don't understand how the Blue Jays didn't get a little bit more aggressive on, but whatever. Like if that's the going rate, and then the going rate for Alonso, but I digress. Are you okay with that being the strategy, the kind of the wait and see strategy, not being uber aggressive when it still feels pretty incomplete?
No, that feels very risky. When you have your spreadsheet and you've got a dollar figure associated with certain players and you stick to it and you are low to come off it, you might get lucky, right? Like, and there's still a chance that the Blue Jays were right on this. This is the possibility that I've raised to multiple insiders all off season is that, hey, like, doesn't it kind of feel like the Blue Jays might have played the market correctly? Because like the Santander number to get the CBT hit in like $14 million a season. Yeah, he's an imperfect player, but for this team, he obviously helps in deferring all that money. Kind of feels like they played that one right, that the Orioles weren't going to go above and beyond for that guy, that they knew that they could have him at their price. Seems like they played that well. Pete Alonso, a different deal. Although, like, the richest owner in pro sports is like nickel and diming
That's
him.
honestly scaring me so much about the Alonso thing. Is that
okay, but he's not perfect. Steve Cohen's not perfect.
I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm just saying that, like, you would think for a team that just sunk on Juan Soto and that's going up against the Dodgers, and you have to flex your financial might, that he's like, I don't like the numbers that are being presented to me with Pete Alonso when it's pretty clear that he's looking for a 3-year deal.
And with the Mets, it seems like really a 1-year deal, like 1 year at a time, where there's like opt-outs. And
but apparently that's what he doesn't like is being presented to him, is that it's the idea that Alonso with the Mets can walk. No, but or that he's got to pay him to walk away.
I think what he also might not like is clogging up that first base position, where in a year he's got a chance to land yet again the biggest free agent in the mix. In Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So while he'd like to have Pete Alonso, not at the expense, some may view it as remote. I mean, why would you? He's Steve Cohen. He could land Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The problem is that the Yankees also have an opening there when Paul Goldschmidt's 1-year deal comes off the books. We know the Red Sox, I don't know, the Alex Bregman thing might change that. But
I brought it up to Shai. It's like, who's to say that Freddie Freeman finally falls off a cliff? And
Dodgers got to have him. Sure. Why not?
I mean, saying Freddie Freeman, I think, is 36.
I mean, he's just so good, though.
He is still. For sure.
Yeah. But why not have, him in waiting?
All I'm saying is that I'm not writing the Dodgers off.
No. Why would you?
Yeah.
No. If I was Vlad's representative...
I didn't think the Dodgers were going to sign 6 closers this offseason, and then they did. They were like, we'll take them all.
Jim Bowden, in his latest, he's like, I think the Jays should sign Vlad at $475 over 12. And I agree. If that offer is available to them, they should sign it. But if I'm representing Vlad...
I want 550.
Where's the number?
550.
I don't know if for me, it wouldn't be.
You have to factor this in, man. One is that Vladdy's going to be a year older than Soto was when he enters free agency.
Yeah, he's going to be 27.
Yes, but I'm just saying
turning 27.
That has a big value. Like, that is a big difference just in terms of like buying years of prime, which is part of the Soto thing. Soto is better than Vladdy and has numbers across the board that are better than Vladdy. So it's like, I understand the idea of, hey, he's going to get paid, no doubt about it. But I'll put it out there like this. I don't think that... I think there is a number for the Blue Jays where it makes more sense for them to say, yeah, let's actually see you get that. Like, I don't know if he's going to get $600 million, man. I just don't. I don't think that it's going to happen. I think that the number for Vladdy is going to fall close to maybe a 5, but that's kind of where... Once you're the Jays and you start to go over 5, it's like you almost wait and see. Like, I'm just telling you that you offer him the $500 million and put some of it as deferred, and I don't know, so that he can have that number. But I think this is a situation where Vladdy might end up misreading his market a touch, where it's he's not getting $600 million, bro. It's just not happening.
I don't think it's a 100% guarantee, but I don't discount the possibility at all. I also think, who means more to their respective franchises? Pete Alonso with the Mets or Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to the Blue Jays?
Yeah, but what are you talking about now? Like, where's this going?
Well, I'm talking about the value that you would So the Mets aren't paying for past performance with Pete Alonso, right? Like, they're like, yeah, you hit one of the greatest home runs in recent postseason history.
My only thing that I'm trying to illustrate here is the Blue Jays, when Bowden puts it out there, is that I'm with you that if you're Vladdy, I'm not doing anything that isn't stupid, but I do think that something in the $500 million range, like a little over 500. That's enough for me to say, Vladdy, you should be that. Like, that's a real consideration.
Yeah, it's a real consideration. You're right. Yeah, it is a real consideration, and there would be risk shared by both parties. And you're right, there is some risk shared by...
Dude, he's also like just a first base DH who's like the history of guys with his body type. It's like there's a lot there, bro.
He can play third base as well as Rafael Devers.
Sure, for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, and I think Juan Soto is headed towards the same position that Vlad is too, right? Like how many years? Like Juan Soto's not winning any Gold Gloves in right field, right? Like, and are you putting it past Juan Soto to be a DH in 3 years?
So you're comparing Vladdy and Juan Soto?
No, I'm talking about positionally. So because your big argument against him making $600 million is because he's a first base DH type.
Yeah, but he's a worse first base DH type than Soto is, and he's again going to be a year older than Soto is. You're getting one less year of the prime years. That matters, bro.
You think like so? Just talking about defense, that Vladdy is discernibly worse than Juan Soto.
No, I'm talking about offense. He is discernibly worse than Juan Soto,
but not half of Juan Soto.
No, but he. But that's what. Ugh, we're going in circles here. The point is that it's like Vladdy being 1 year older, losing that 1 extra year of prime. Yeah. He is worth what of Juan Soto?
I'd say 3/4 of Juan Soto.
Okay, so 75%, right? Okay, if he's worth 75% of Juan Soto,
that's like $600 million.
No, it's not. That's not correct. But also, he's not getting that. I just don't think he's getting 600 mil. Yeah, we are bad at math, but he's not getting that. He's not getting 600 mil. There's just no way.
I didn't think he was going to get 300 mil. I remember having Jeff Passan on during this past regular season. I was filling in on Blair and Barker, and we had Jeff Passan on, and I laid out the case that he, like the Rafael Devers comparable is like a fair one, even though he plays first base. It's like, I don't think, you're not paying a first baseman $300 million.
Yeah, he walked that back immediately, though.
Yeah, but that's, and then he's like, okay, fine, he'll get $300 million.
Yeah, because everyone in baseball was like, no, man, they're going to pay him. They're going to pay him.
Yeah, that's only a couple of months ago, and now it's like, oh my God. Yeah, imagine offering him under $400 million, you'd be out of your mind. And apparently the offer, according to Vlad on the podcast he was on, was $350, and they're $100 million apart. If that's the case, like, how is the deal not done today? If the Blue Jays can have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at $450 million,
should be done.
Do you know what kind of a deal that's going to look like?
Yeah, should be done.
Absolutely should be done.
Yeah, I don't think that the number should be $450 if I'm Vladdy.
Yeah.
If I'm Vladdy, I want the 5. I wanted to say $500 million.
I agree.
But if you're the Blue Jays, I wouldn't really be going that much over that because I think you could risk it and say, you know what, let's see. Let's see the Mets actually pay you $550 to $600 million. Let's see it. Let's see the market value that way. I just think that that's when the risk does get appropriate.
If it's the Mets and the Yankees again bidding for the same player, and the Yankees have the more obvious need.
Yeah, yes. But we're off the track, which is essentially that the Blue Jays should be being a little bit more aggressive right now. Like, especially with the Pete Alonsos. They should be swiping them. They shouldn't be letting them sit around and go, you know what? I'm going to take a bunch of 100%. Big bag of money from the Angels. You know what? I want my legacy to be as a Met.
It's $5 million.
This is the time. Well, the other part of it too, with the reason why I think it's kind of annoying that they're doing it this way is you need a starting pitcher and you need a bat. And if you really want to make the fan base excited, signing those two guys, Scherzer and Alonso, would go a crazy long way. And it kind of feels like Scherzer is going hand in hand with Alonso. Like if you sign Alonso, you're far more likely to get Max Scherzer. And maybe you don't even have to be as aggressive for him. So to me, it's like now is the time where you really want to be pouncing on it and going, you should be coming here.
They're that combo deal away from this offseason. Like everything about it.
Turning.
Everything negative that's been said about it being reduced to nothing.
Well, not nothing, because Vladdy to me is still the most important component. Because if he leaves and Bo leaves, and then you're stuck with old Pete and old George and old Max and old Chris, and you know.
I know you're obsessed with that, and no doubt that'll be a conversation, especially if the Jays stink.
How could you not be obsessed with that?
Because I'm thinking about opening day this year,
yeah,
and that lineup and what it could look like, and like in the back of my mind, am I like, oh my God, this team is going to do the thing that the Colorado Avalanche wouldn't do and walk this guy all the way to free agency.
And it also feels very 2013, I gotta say, like a little bit where it's like, oh my God, what's the future look like exactly? Like, holy crap.